All right, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to be finding the equation of a line that passes through 2 points. You guys are going to be working on a problem set. Today, this problem set we're going to see again and again and again because it's got pretty much all of the skills that we've been talking about all wrapped up into one problem. Kevin, kill the gum. Thanks. All right, so an example problem would ask you this, and it would give you 2 points. And for an example, we're going to do 8, 4, and 4, 3. All right, so first thing that we got to do is we got to realize what we're looking for. We have the equation of a line, which we're going to be using the slope-intercept form, x plus b. Okay, and in slope-intercept form, we need to find 2 pieces of information. We have to find the slope, and we have to find the y-intercept. Now, when we were graphing, the first thing that we used was the y-intercept, and then we used the slope. When we do these problems, the first thing we're going to find is the slope, and then we're going to find the y-intercept. So we're going to do this first. We're going to do this second. Okay? So there are different ways of calculating slope. Okay, I've shown you guys a method that I think works really well. How far do you go if you walk from 4 to 3? Going up, going down, how much? Come on, guys. Going down, how much? All right, and if I walk from 8 to 4, how far did I walk? Down 4. So my slope is -1 all over -4. And you know how I feel about negative over a negative? What does it turn into? Positive. So we're going to use 1/4. That's going to be our slope. Okay, so if you guys were rusty on finding slope, we're going to get that sharpened up today. Okay. Now, we're going to go to the form of the equation that we were looking for. Form of the line. So slope-intercept form, y equals, and now we know what the slope is, so we're going to plug it in. But we don't know what this b term is. That's the next thing we're going to find. The b is the y-intercept. Okay. So at this point, you have a choice. You can use either the point on the left or you can use the point on the right. Doesn't matter which one you use. Hopefully, if you do the math right, you'll get the same answer no matter which one you chose. Okay? So let's just take this one here. Okay? Remember, we have an x and a y. That's my x. That's the y. Remember, they go alphabetically left to right, x, y. And what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the x and we're going to plug in the y into our equation and find the b. So if x is 4, and y is 3, see how I just took the x and the y values and plugged them in. Okay? Take a look. See how I did that. Now, we can simplify. What's 1/4 times 4? Right, 1. Excellent. And now we subtract a 1 from both sides to get b alone. So b is 2. So we plugged in things, simplified, and then found the b. And now all we have to do is write our answer down. Y equals 1/4 x plus 2. So we're going to do another example in a minute. Take a second, make sure you copied all that down, and then we'll do 1 or 2 more. Now, if you had chosen the other point, like I said, you should have gotten the same answer. Let's take a look at that. Again, we're going to start off with y equals 1/4 x plus b, because that's where we were at that point. We had found the slope and we were plugging in a point. And if we had chosen x and y from this point, we would have gotten 4 equals 1/4 times 8 plus b. Well, 8 times 1/4, remember the whole number multiplies to the top, so 8 times 1 is 8, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. And subtracting a 2 from both sides, we get the same b. So it would have worked out either way. Okay, so either way, either point would have worked. So the process is, first, find the slope. Second, plug in the slope. Third, plug in a point, find the b, and then write your answer. So let's write those down. Remember, b is the y-intercept. And fourth, write your final solution. Those are your steps. Okay. Once we've got those all copied down, we're going to do one more example, maybe two. Okay. Okay. So, we all good copying? I think I see one or two pencils still moving. All right. About all there? Finish up. Okay. All right. So, let's try the points -9, -4, and 3, 4. So first, take a second and try and find the slope on your own. Remember, you do the y's before you do the x's. Just like when we graph, rise before we run. When you get your fraction, remember to reduce it if it can be reduced. You should always reduce your fractions. So if we're starting at -4 and we go to +4, how far have we traveled? +8. All right, and if we start at -9 and we walk all the way to 3, how far have we walked? Yes, we've gone up, we've become positive, a total of 12. Okay, so my slope, 8/12, and if we reduce that, okay. Okay, good. Okay, remember, when it's an even over an even, you can always reduce it by 2, and sometimes you can do that more than once. Okay, in this case, we could reduce it by 4. All right, great. So now what should I start by writing down? Okay, the slope-intercept form. And we can start plugging things in. Which point would you like to pick, the one on the left or the one on the right? The one on the right. Yeah, I like the one on the right also. It doesn't have all the negatives involved in it, right? Okay, it's a little easier to play with. So, what's my y value that I'm going to start with? Which one's the y?
4.
The 4. Remember, it's alphabetical. What's my m? 2/3, and the x? 3. See, remember, that's your x. That's your y, and that's your m. Okay, and now we're plugging everything in. Oh, don't forget the plus b. Okay, plugging in all 3 values. And now what happens to 2/3 when you multiply? 3 times 2, 6 divided by 3, 2. So in this case, b was 2. Kind of a coincidence from the last problem, but it doesn't always have to be 2, of course. And now I'm going to write my final answer. What's the slope? And we're done. Okay. I can feel the apprehension about dealing with the fractions, guys. Look, you multiply the top, and then you divide by the denominator, okay? So if I gave you 3/2 times 4, what would I do there? 3 times 4, which is 12, and then divide it by the 2. So 12 divided by 2 would be 6. So this would be 6. Okay? When you're dealing with a fraction times a whole number, it's the whole number times the top. Okay? And then you reduce it by the denominator. You divide it by the denominator. Okay? One more? Sure. Okay. So let's do 10, -7, and 5, -6. Find the slope first. Do this one on your own. So how far did I go if I went from -7 to -6? Am I going up? Am I going down? Going up 1. Good. And if I go from 10 to 5,
Down.
-5. Good. So my slope is 1 all over -5. And remember, most of the time we write the negative sign up top. Okay. If you leave the negative sign down below, I'm not going to get upset about it, just realize that most of the time it's written up top, if it can be. Okay? It's generally good form. All right, so what do I write now? Yup. Okay, so which point do you want to pick? The left one or the right one? You pick the right one? Okay. So this is my x. That's my y. Go ahead and plug them in. So -6. What's my m? We just found it. And the x was 5 plus b. So what happens to that when -1/5 times 5? What does that turn into? -1, because it's -1 times 5. -5/5, which is just -1. And now, how do I get b alone? And what happens? Right, which is -5. Okay, great. Am I done? What do I have to do to be finished? All right, and what's my final answer going to be? Equals. Keep going. Whoop. You know how I feel about a plus and a minus next to each other, right? -5. All right. How does that feel? All right. This episode of The Ronco Show has been brought to you by the Slope-Intercept Form.